Look at my fireworks.
Oh,
wait, those are my laser lights. You have a Iron Man bobblehead, Paul.
It's not actually a bobblehead. I don't know. I think it's like a Funko thing that they used to do these weird little figures. And the funny thing is, there's a very famous photo of Taylor Swift and her cat, and the cat has like the same exact kind of expression on its face. So whenever I would write a story about these action figures, I was always like say that they look like Taylor Swift's cat, because I was hoping she'd pick up on it and then retweet me and like me and fall in love with me, and we'd have lots of cats.
That facial expression reminds me more of Snorlax than Taylor Swift's cat. So I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
So happy Thursday, guys. It is a fine, sunny, sweltering evening in Las Vegas. How are things in LA, Ray?
They are very, very warm, and they're very busy. I literally got in here 15 seconds before the music started.
Oh, happy to have you here.
Yeah, no, I can't talk about it on air, but I got a really good phone call about 10 minutes ago, and it just so
I'm excited to chat about that after the show. And Paul,
Yes.
how are things in your neck of the woods in Mid-Wilshire?
I did not get a good phone call today. I actually got a not good phone call involving car repairs and things like that. But, I'm sure no one else can relate to, because no one's ever had a car, break down on them. So.
Yes.
But otherwise, it's very, very hot in the Mid-Wilshire / La Brea district of sunny Los Angeles.
Well, let's heat things up even more by talking about Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, yeah.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe as Dr. Doom. The three of us are all big comic book nerds, and we have lots and lots of thoughts on RDJ coming back as Doom. But before we get to that, let's get an update on how things are going in general. Ray, what's new with stand-up and the podcast and everything?
Yeah, so podcast is going well. We actually did our first giveaway in a long time. My friends over at EA Sports hooked me up. We gave away some Madden codes this week. Nice. So we got one more to give away. So if you get a chance, listen to this week's episode. We literally just dropped it today. The episode is your last chance to enter, a chance to win our last code giveaway. We've already given away 2 codes. We got one more to give away via the show. After hanging out here with us talking about RDJ, go listen to Geeks Like Sports right after. It's all kinds of good stuff going on. Yeah, so stuff going on there. Writing more comedy. Going to get on the stage again hopefully soon with the stand-up. And then, just doing voiceover work and looking for full-time work, and just pulling from the ether, just a little bit of hodgepodge, tons of freelance stuff here or there to find my way. Yeah, I just got booked in 2 more voiceover actually 3 more voiceover things that I can't talk about right now, and
excellent.
Just very excited. So, and
I see you've declared a war on sleeves. That's also good.
It is too hot. No more sleeves. Yankees still all the way, but the sleeves are gone. Suddenly guns out, and the sun's out, and the Yankees are hitting the ball out of the ballpark again. So we were taking the last 2 out of 3 against Cleveland. So
fantastic. So to check out Ray's podcast, there is the URL scrolling below. To keep up with his stand-up, check out Ray's Instagram profile, which is in the description of this video. Now, moving on to Paul's website, we have a bunch of new things going on at paulsemel.com.
Yes, we do not have any props this week, but we do have some pictures. A lot of good stuff coming up next week. First off, I have an interview with author Cameron Johnston, who has a new heroic grimdark fantasy novel called The Last Shield coming out next week. It's out already, but the interview is going to run next week. And actually, even though it's a fantasy novel, he also says that it is actually a gender-swapped Die Hard.
Whoa.
Which, of course, made me think of that Rick and Morty episode, but apparently it's not going to be that silly. And then also have a very weird novel, the author, which I interviewed, Nathan Ballingrud, called Crypt of the Moon Spider. which is a dark fantasy novella about people who live on the moon and worship a dead spider. But it's set in 1923. And people have been living on the moon for a long time, so
That definitely sounds weird.
Yeah. Well, he kind of pulls from there's that John Carpenter of Mars series that I can't remember the name of the guy did, but all of those were like, oh, Mars has actually like been populated for like hundreds of years, so he pulls a lot from that. And then the last thing I have on Monday, I'm going to be running my review of Star Wars Outlaw. I cannot say anything else about it except that my review and everybody else's reviews will run Monday, and I think the game comes out later in the week, so I would definitely check out the reviews before you decide to buy the game.
Ooh, that's a hint.
Yeah.
That is a hint.
Yeah, the Ultimate Edition drops on the 27th, and then the regular game drops on the 30th. So
Gotcha. Yeah, well, the reviews drop on Monday, so
the day before the Ultimate Edition. So then
read the reviews and then go like, okay, I'm like, what is in the Ultimate Edition? I hope it has like a stuffed animal of that.
No. I mean, maybe a physical edition has that, but the Ultimate Edition I know comes with extra cosmetics and the 2 story DLC that are coming down the line included, and 3 days early access, right? So you can get the game Tuesday. If you get the standard edition, you just get it on Friday. And,
right.
Yeah. There's actually, I think, 3 extra story missions. I think one bonus mission at launch with Jabba, and then there's one more later in this year, and then a second story edition, I think, in Q1 of 2025.
Yeah, and I think one of them has one of the guys from Star Wars Rebels. In it.
Yes, what's his name? Yes, that Jim Cummings does the voice. And then the other one has Lando in it. The other one has Lando Calrissian in it.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes, I remember that from Although I don't know if they got what's his name to do Lando's voice.
Billy D.
Billy D.
Yeah.
Somebody told me once I tried to interview Billy D because he was doing Lando's voice in a game, and they said that Billy D doesn't always remember that he's doing it in a game. Sometimes he thinks it's for a cartoon. And they just don't and they were like, okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually more interested in Hondo being in one of the DLC packages. I love that character, especially in Rebels. He was kind of a meanie in Clone Wars till he got older and somehow funnier in his old age. So
he hasn't been in live action yet, right?
No. Maybe in the future. That would be cool.
It was just the other guy, the bounty hunter who was in Boba Fett, whose name I'm drawing a blank on right now. The guy who looks like Lee Van Cleef.
Right. The cowboy dude. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Totally forgot his name.
I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but that's okay. Anyway, so Monday, Star Wars Outlaws. Come check it out.
So, guys, last month at Comic-Con, Marvel pretty much floored the entire nerd universe by bringing Robert Downey Jr. on stage and announcing that he will be coming back to the MCU as Dr. Doom. Paul, what was your first reaction to this news?
This is going to sound like a weird analogy, but it was sort of like when Biden dropped out of the presidential race, because it was crazy and weird and exciting, but also I had mixed feelings. With Biden, I didn't like how he kind of got squeezed out. And I still don't like how he got squeezed out, but I recognize it for what it is, and I'm okay. I've made my peace with it, and I'm obviously Team Harris.
You mean how he got Pelosi'd?
Yeah. It wound up being for the greater good. I just wish it hadn't gone the way down it did. And with Robert Downey Jr., I was like, okay, this is really cool. It's exciting. How is this going to work? Because I still have a lot of faith in Feige and Marvel to do something interesting, but is he like an alternate version of Tony Stark? Is he this? Is he that? Like, I don't know. And we don't know. And we're going to just be doing a lot of speculating today.
But that's part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have an idea but I don't think it's right, but it would work really well. But I don't know. We'll talk about that. So that's kind of, yeah.
And your first reaction, Ray, what was your initial reaction?
By the way, before we lose all our geek cred, Cad Bane was the name of the ballad.
Aha! Thank you. That up.
Yeah, for sure.
I just always think of him as Lee Van Cleef because that's who he looks like. He looks like a cross between Lee Van Cleef and Paul from the movie Paul.
See, you're a little older than us, so you have like cowboy Lee Van Cleef, where I think of Master Ninja Lee Van Cleef. Complete with Timothy Van Patten, master of the gratuitous voiceover. I didn't know what the master was going to do as he's ordering coffee or some shit. So sorry, Ray, thanks for that lookup and your initial reaction.
Yeah. I mean, initially I thought I've kind of been constantly going up and down. And like, now I've kind of like settled in the middle. Initially, I think like Paul, like I was super excited. I'm like, this is awesome. And then I'm like, how is this going to work? Why not just get somebody else? And now I'm just kind of like Paul said, kind of in a wait and see mode, because it's kind of like, it's cool. I mean, first off, I'm happy they brought the Russos back for sure. I definitely trust them a lot more than a lot of the other folks they've been giving projects out to. But I worry about, again, there's so many, they could do so many stuff with alternates. There have been Tony Starks that have been Doctor Doom on other planets. There's been Tony Stark, Ant-Man in other universes, right? There's so much in the multiverse that you can do. Right. But if it's truly like he's just Victor Von Doom and he just happens to look like, unless they do something in the story where he's like, I wanted to look like the most famous man in the world, and so I got plastic surgery, did something crazy. Like, I just feel it's weird that he's just straight up playing Victor Von Doom. Like, he has, to me, the only way this works is if he's a variant of Tony Stark, because if you don't do that, like, you could do so much with that storyline wise, but like, if you don't do that, it just feels like a meaningless double dip, because every time you look at him, you think Tony Stark.
Of course, yeah. So my initial reaction actually had nothing to do with being a fan of the movies or the comics. I was thinking business-wise, my first thought was, well, that's one way to get people to forget about Jonathan Majors. And
yeah.
And then I thought about all the nerdy geek stuff later.
Yeah.
But I was excited that they gave such a capable actor the role of Doom, because to me, he's one of the very best villains in Marvel Comics. He's like, for me, it's him and Magneto are the top guys, because the character is so complex. He's a genius level intellect, but he's also one of the top sorcerers in the Marvel Comics. Yeah. He seems really mean and harsh, but he's very loving to the people he rules over. Mm-hmm. Even though it's in a harsh way. And then, of course, he has mommy issues, because Mephisto has his mommy, and that is the source of a ton of his trauma. Ray, are you a fan of Doctor Doom in the comics?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned how layered a character he is. Like, I mean, he saved Susan Storm for the right to name Valeria, basically, right? Like, I mean, like, here it is, Reed Richards, the Fantastic Four, arguably his greatest enemies. And, you know, Johnny Storm goes to Doom and he's like, you're the only one who can do this. And a little bit because it played to his ego, but also because, like, he does bad things, but he's not always a bad guy.
Right.
Like, it's interesting. Again, like you said, he's such a layered and complex character, and his motivations always vary. And like you mentioned, like, I mean, look, he's going to be named the Sorcerer Supreme, I think, now coming up in the comics. I think at least that's what they're building currently, because you mentioned his magic. He does time travel. He's been with Morgan Le Fay. He deals with Mephisto. Like, he's got his fingers in every element of Marvel, from the street level crime to the cosmic, from time travel to the mystical. Like, it's amazing. Everything leads back to Doctor Doom, or can lead back to Doctor Doom. And I think that's always something that's hugely fascinating. And yes, I mean, RDJ is an amazing actor. He's an accomplished actor. which is a great thing for him. It does make sense that he is one of the few guys who could handle this role. But I do, again, still just worry about his Iron Man baggage and if people can get past that, depending on how what story they write. Right? I trust Marvel. I hope they have a good idea with this. I trust the Russos. Right. And like, I mean, if there's anything, I always talk about it. Right. We learned our lesson with Heath Ledger and the Joker, kind of take a wait and see approach. Right. With anything. But it is curious. It is interesting. He has the gravitas. He has the ability to do this. I'm excited. And again, I hope that in a weird way, I hope it is a Tony Stark variant, because I would love to rather see somebody else just do proper Victor Von Doom, but we'll see what happens.
And Paul, what are your thoughts on Doom, the comic book version?
I mean, he's the ultimate Marvel bad guy, really. I mean, you know, he's one of the few, in fact, that sort of crosses between characters. Like, yeah, he is the main bad guy for the Fantastic Four, but he deals with basically everybody, which you don't always get. Like, you know, the Green Goblin doesn't fight Daredevil. Like, you know, like the Shocker doesn't fight Thor. Although he should fight Storm, but that's a story for another day.
Okay, I'm calling a timeout for. I was actually reading some comic book pages where Spider-Man and Daredevil were discussing Kingpin, and Spidey's like, "Does he count as one of my guys or one of your guys?"
Right.
Then Daredevil is like, "Come on, you have all these cool ones. I have Stiltman. Give me Kingpin."
Well, but apparently that's why he's now sort of Daredevil's bad guy, because like they couldn't find a good bad guy for Daredevil, so they gave him, like, you know,
come on, Stiltman.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say that I always have an issue with Dr. Doom is how every single time he gets caught, it's not him, it's a Doom bot. So he never gets, like, I'm convinced, like, I was waiting for, like, there to be, like, a book once where, like, you literally see him and he's just been, like, in a bed the whole time, and, like, he's really old and he doesn't, like, do anything, and every Doom you've ever seen is a Doom bot. And that gets a little tiresome.
It is hackneyed. Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, I love the fact that he has diplomatic immunity.
Right.
And so a lot of times, like, they can't arrest him anyway. Although I keep waiting for somebody to pull the Lethal Weapon thing where it's like diplomatic immunity, and then like he gets killed anyway. But
there was actually a great She-Hulk run where Jen, as a lawyer, had to defend a Doombot that actually thought he was Dr. Doom for committing crimes, and the Doombot like refused to acknowledge that he was a Doombot. So they had to go to trial and everything. But I totally agree that can be such a weak excuse. Almost like how there was that 3-year stretch where everything in Marvel was excused by being a Skrull. So it's like a cop-out like that.
Yeah.
So totally agree with the Doombot excuse. And I hope that doesn't make its way to the MCU. Yeah. That would be horrible. So we have had Dr. Doom portrayals in the past. Paul and I saw a bunch of these movies in the theaters, and Dr. Doom sucked in all of them. In those 2 movies with Jessica Alba, he was an evil businessman.
Yeah.
And in the one with Kate Mara, I always think about the girls. That's kind of messed up. The one with Kate Mara, Doom was like an evil, like, tech nerd. And I'm like, no. Yeah. Doom is science and magic combined into one awesome character, you know. And why did Fox get Doom so wrong in these movies, Paul?
I think that's a question for Fox. I don't work there. I don't know why you're asking me. I mean, I think they wanted there to be a more personal connection between him and the Fantastic Four. And there is like a run of, I think it's Ultimate Fantastic Four, where Victor was like a classmate of them.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And I think they kind of wanted that there to be that personal connection. Whereas in the main Marvel comics, you know, he's a leader and you know, he doesn't have like, you know, it's not
he
like
also went to school with Reed in the main Marvel comic universe.
Right, but he doesn't have like it's not like he had like a explain this. Like it wasn't like he knew like Ben and like all the other ones like the way he did in the movie.
Yeah.
Like it was literally just like, oh, he went to school with Reed and you know, and even that like it was kind of not like, you know.
Yeah, he kind of kept an eye on Reed just because like, you know, he knew how smart he was or whatever, but like it was not what it was in the movies or the Ultimate Verse.
So so I think that's like a big part of it. I think that and also like they wanted those movies I think to be somewhat grounded and so they didn't want to do like the magic thing, you know. I mean, because don't forget, that was a big thing when the Marvel Cinematic Universe started, is that people were like, well, wait a minute, how are you going to have a god like Thor and a tech bro like Tony Stark in the same realm together? And then later you're going to add like Doctor Strange? How is this all going to work? And they've managed to pull it off.
Right, but even more so with Fox, like when the X-Men movies came out, there was like a no spandex rule. That's why they had all the black leather costumes.
Right.
You know, I see the point about wanting to make it more modern and identifiable, but still it's kind of not the point of that character. So I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, Ray, what did Fox get wrong with their Doctor Dooms?
Yeah, I mean, I think the funny thing is that they got a second attempt in it. I think the second one was worse than the first.
Yes.
You know, is that like even at least Evil Businessman at least had like the ego of Doom.
Yeah.
Whereas like just the tech bro, like he wasn't even in like 95% of that film and like till the very end, and it just was like it. Oh God, yeah, that was just awful.
Well, he was just pissed because they left him behind.
They left him, and it just
left me behind. But like they didn't have a choice; they thought he was dead. So,
yeah, but I agree with Ray that he's really forgettable in the Kate Mara movie. It's her movie now, so I actually have to look up my old review because I'm like, I don't remember much about this movie aside from Kate Mara being hot and wealthy.
Yeah. So. And was his name Miles Teller or whatever, basically like randomly being on the run for a while. Like
when they made Johnny Storm black, but Kate Mara was the one who
was adopted.
Yeah, she was adopted.
She was adopted. Yeah, she was the one adopted one. Yeah, her big thing was that she could do everything to like music, right, or whatever. Like she was the pattern recognition or something. Like it. I mean, goodness, that movie was awful. That movie was so freaking bad. Like, I mean, whoever signed off on that, like, they should allow every Marvel fan to punch them in the face once.
I think it ruined the director's career. I think it may have ruined the director's career.
And rightfully so, because the movie was one of the worst. Until Madam Web and until, like, Borderlands, like, it was one of the worst movies ever made.
Hey, it was not as bad as Green Lantern. Barely.
Green Lantern was I don't know. That's a tough one. I might actually go with Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern slightly above that second try for Fantastic.
He's more entertaining than anybody in that Fantastic.
100%. And at least they had they tried to get the characters comic book accurate in the Green Lantern film. They weren't anywhere in the same. They weren't even on the same planet, literally and figuratively, in terms of what they were doing with that Fantastic Four film. Anyway, why Fox screwed it up? They're just idiots. They should have just let the rights revert back to Marvel sooner. The second attempt was clearly just, we need to get something out to try to keep these rights. It's all about money. Yeah. People will buy it, and of course, it was a disaster. And the first one, I think, to Paul's point, I think they were going for more of that Ultimate Verse personal connection, and I think that they kind of just couldn't figure out how to do the scope of Doom properly. And that's the thing is that they couldn't do the scope of Doom properly and not have him overshadow their four main characters, right? And that's also the problem sometimes with an ensemble piece like that is that like
you don't want to make the bad guy the coolest thing in the movie because then
right.
Totally. Have you guys ever seen the Roger Corman one?
Not that I have a video file of it.
Oh.
So Rob agrees that the last Fantastic Four was purely made to keep the rights.
Yeah.
Fat lot of good at them.
Yeah.
So that movie, actually, I have a link to the review. I think it's 2015 when that came out in the video description. So if you want to see how bad that is, and if you want to tell us if it's better or worse than Green Lantern, please check it out. I believe I said one of the best things about the movie is that it wasn't Green Lantern.
See, I will fight you on that. I think that as bad as Green Lantern was, and it was bad, I think that second Fantastic Four was
I admit bias on that because Green Lantern is one of my favorite comic book characters, and
fair.
Fantastic Four, while I enjoy them, they're not as popular with me as Green Lantern. So now that we've had your theories, any guesses as to what Feige and the Russos will do with Doom in the MCU? Paul, you mentioned you have some theories.
I have a theory. Well, there's the Skrull idea.
No.
But here's my idea, and I'll explain the thinking behind it. I think that it's going to be like Bradley Cooper and Rocket. I think that he's only going to be doing Doom's voice.
Really?
And here's the reason why. But here's the difference. He's going to also do press for it. Because you didn't really see Bradley Cooper do a whole lot of press for the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. It was always the Zoe Saldana and Chris Pratt. You never really saw Vin Diesel do press for Groot. He would get asked about it because he'd be going to promote the Fast and the Furious movies, which they'd always be coming out as well. But he never really did like a Groot specific TV interview. I think they're going to get Robert Downey Jr. to do interviews as Dr. Doom, but in the movies themselves, you will never see his face. They will basically say his face is all messed up. So even if they do show him once, he'll be like unrecognizable. And they will just have his voice. And one of the advantages of this is you get Robert Downey Jr. in the movies. Yeah. And you can have him play that character for a long time. You don't Robert Downey
90 until you're 90.
Yeah.
I mean, right, because here's the thing. Robert Downey Jr. is not a spring chicken anymore.
Yeah.
You can't have him do like action scenes. I mean, granted, like Dr. Doom doesn't fight people as much as like Batman does or something, He's not like swinging like Spider-Man. But he does have to mix it up a little bit. And this way you get Robert Downey Jr. doing that character for a long time, and you won't have to recast him, unless something terrible happens. I don't, the argument has been made, well, why would you have Robert Downey Jr. if you're not going to have Robert Downey Jr. in the movie? And it's like, yeah, but how do you have Robert Downey Jr. in the movie without acknowledging that he looks like Tony Stark? And that kind of, that's because this is the one thing that Feige said, that he doesn't want to ruin what happened to Tony Stark at the end of Endgame.
Right. But then again, you have the potential for powerful scenes like when he meets Tom Holland's Spider-Man for the first time as Doom, and I would love to see that reaction.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd be okay without it. I think I'd be okay with him just especially because at Comic-Con they said he's playing Victor Von Doom. Now, they could fudge that, of course, but,
right.
Still.
I like your idea, Paul. I really do, actually. But my thing is then also is like if he's got the mask on, right, his voice isn't going to sound.
It can sound like anything. Yeah.
It can sound like anything. At that point, you can get anybody then if it's just going to be the voice.
True. But you have Robert Downey Jr. promoting the movie.
Sure.
And, why would Marvel want Robert Downey Jr. to come back? In part, it's because his name puts people's butts in the seats.
Yeah, right. They're desperate to have a string of success again because they've been so up and down lately.
Right.
I mean, his face also brings people to the theater.
Yes, but if you say Robert Downey Jr. is in the movie playing Dr. Doom, and he goes on Kimmel with everybody else, and he does Vanity Fair and all this stuff,
right? But he's also getting paid, allegedly. I mean, this is not confirmed, but this is one of the largest Hollywood contracts ever. So don't
Sure,
you want
but
his
we don't-
face?
yeah, but we don't know for how many movies.
Yeah, we don't. You're right.
And we don't know. We don't for A, we don't know for how many movies. B, we don't know what that actually means. Also, it was announced that as Iron Man, his voice is going to appear in a couple of amusement park things in Disney, in a couple Disney parks. It could be for a lot of money for that, you know, because there's an article. There was actually interviews that came out this week where it talked about how that's what he originally talked to Feige and Bob Iger of Disney about, was doing the Iron Man thing, and then it kind of this, you know, Doctor Doom thing came up. So you know, again, you don't know, like they may have plans within plans within plans, and they're like, okay, so you know, we're gonna give you like this amount of money, and you're gonna have to do like movies for 20 years, and it may also be bullshit. Let's be honest.
Yes.
You know, or it could be like one of the things is like he made a shit ton of money off the Marvel movies because he had points on the back end.
Yeah.
So it could be that he's not getting $90 million the first day he shows up. It could be you're getting points on the back end, which is yet another reason to motivate him to go on Jimmy Kimmel and Vanity Fair. And
so hopping back to Green Lantern for a second, Rob has this excellent comment. You have a ring that could create anything you can think of, and he made a racetrack. Yes, he did do that dumb shit with his
powers. I'm not saying Green Lantern was good. I'm just saying it was better than Fantastic Four, which was awful.
Maybe, but continuing this question, Ray, what version of Doctor Doom will we see? Well, you know, hopefully it's not evil businessman or angry tech nerd.
No, I definitely don't think it'll be that. I think, look, there's so much that can happen between now and Secret Wars and Doomsday, and I think that there's, again, you could have a multiverse, right? Still think they're going to still do the multiverse thing. It's just obviously now the Council of Kangs, they're all bye-bye. They're all gone, right? Like, it's just a matter of, do you do a Tony Stark variant, or do you do proper Doom? And if you do proper Doom, is it the 616 Doom? Is it the 10,052 Doom? Is it, right? Like, I mean, in this way, it also keeps it open where, yes, this is going to be a massive deal, and RDJ is going to be around for forever now. Basically, he's going to do it till he's 90, but like, it still leaves the door open that you can bring in somebody else as Doom too. Like, I don't know. I just worry so much about this decision, and probably more than I should, as somebody who doesn't have points or anything on the back end. But it's a curious decision. I don't know. I hope that they can pull it off in a way that makes sense, because that is something that I think has been such a struggle lately for the MCU. I feel like they're starting to turn the corner with Deadpool and Wolverine and Anchor Beings and all this other stuff. But I think it's still going to be a while before all of this makes sense. And so it's really hard to tell. I hope they do a comic accurate Doom. I hope he has the gravitas that we look for. I hope he is the you know, plans within plans guy. He's one step ahead of everybody else around him.
So I'm glad you brought up Anchor Beings, because that is another possibility for, you know, that character. Maybe it's the Tony Stark of the Fantastic Four world, the movie world, that something happened to him and he became Doom. He was kidnapped by, I forget what the name is, but in the comics, they say he was, you know, brought up by gypsies, but we're not supposed to say that word anymore. Romani, is that correct?
Yeah,
I think so. Sorry, I said gypsy. I said the G word. And Paul also mentioned variants. So I don't think we're going to get comic book classic Doctor Doom, even though that's what would make me happiest.
Yeah.
I don't think that makes sense for the MCU.
Yeah.
And they have to tie it into Tony somehow. But I will hold out hope that if Paul says that they're not going to show his face, then they can definitely do something completely original. And I hope comic book accurate Doctor Doom, or as close as that as possible, would be what we're getting.
There's a couple other things to keep in mind. First of all, I think they've said the Fantastic Four movie that they're doing is not set in the normal Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
Yeah, it's an alternate universe. Yeah.
It's also in the 1960s.
Yes.
But they haven't said if Doctor Doom is in that.
No.
As
Oh,
far
no,
as I
we
know.
know Galactus and Silver Surfer are in.
Right.
Right. But they did say, Feige did say that Doom would be appearing in movies that are other than Secret Wars and Doomsday.
Yeah.
So that could be in the future, or it could be the Fantastic Four. We don't know.
Right.
Intentionally
we don't know.
I mean, that movie has to end with them somehow being transported to the 616. Right.
Yeah.
Whether there's something in some kind of chronal stasis, even kind of thing, like Cap was frozen in ice, like somehow, or maybe Doom somehow opens up a portal. I don't like messing around with the multiverse. There's a bunch of ways they could do that, but I definitely think that I don't think Doom will be a major factor at all in the Fantastic Four film. I think it will be Fantastic Four versus Galactus. Maybe we'll get a cameo by the Mole Man, but
that'd be cool.
Fingers crossed. That I would like to see. Even just at the beginning when they're first getting their powers and they're figuring out how to be heroes, right? Like, and it's like almost like a throwaway. But I mean, yeah, there's so much you can do here with variants, right? There's the Iron Maniac. I don't think they're going to do that storyline, which is Iron Man, or excuse me, Tony Stark from Earth 5012, where Stark becomes Doom, comes to the main universe, and then gets a crazy purple suit. Basically creates an Iron Man suit out of like a leftover Doom bot and an LM, like a life model decoy, and basically becomes the Iron Maniac. I don't think they're going to go that far. Although that would be pretty
quick
cool.
Casting question. You brought up Mole Man. You guys, who would you cast as Mole Man real quick? Paul.
Whoever it is that does the voice of Hans Mole Man on The Simpsons.
Ray.
Me. I should be the Mole Man.
I'm going with Danny DeVito. Just to be height accurate.
That's the perfect one. Yeah.
Rob mentions that that's interesting. He's still pushing for, as I like to call him, Christ.
A little late to be pushing for that, though.
Christ of Waltz is Zach Galifianakis. Chiron him as Dr. Doom. Not really feel. I mean, RDJ is such a talented and versatile actor that I have no idea how he's going to play it. Is Tim Blake Nelson cast as Mole Man already? I don't know.
No, because he's the leader.
The leader, yeah, he's the leader.
He's going to be in Captain America New World. Is it New World Order or Brave New World? I will get those confused.
A whole new world, like Aladdin. Johan asks, isn't RDJ supposed to show up during the post-credit scene? I was guessing that's what they're going to do in Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
and save him for that. But that's
he'll be a post-credit scene, and it's Brave New World, by the way, Paul.
I like a whole new world. I want the musical scene now, where with Cap and Falcon.
It's actually gonna be Aladdin on the magic carpet with Falcon Cap, and that's how they're gonna take down the Red Hulk.
That would be excellent.
It's gonna just be like a movie about Falcon going to a historically black university and hanging out with Lisa Bonet and
that's a different
world.
And Marissa Tomei for one season.
Right.
Now let's talk about, just from an acting perspective, how do you think RDJ plays it, Ray? Is he more like Iron Man? Is he totally a unique character?
No, I think he's going to play. I mean, if it's not a Tony Stark variant, if it is Victor Von Doom, I think he's going to play it very straight. I think he's going to play it very, very serious. Because Doom is a serious character, and Doom, there's no frivolity there. There's no jovialness. There's no humor, right?
And he says "bah" a lot, more than any other character in Marvel Comics.
I think he'll be very condescending to a lot of people. Like he'll play it where he's very condescending, very nasty almost. But he's just very dismissive of everyone around him, right? And I think that's how you have to play it. If this is really Victor Von Doom, that's how you have to do it. And I think he will play it. He will play it like a completely different character because he has to. Because if he doesn't, if he plays Von Doom like Tony Stark and he's not a Tony Stark variant, the people are going to tear this apart, in my opinion. I'm going to tear it apart.
Right, but can they play up the tendencies that Tony had with, the whole suit of armor around the world, but, amp that to 11? Just make him even more aggressive, maybe more heartless than what Tony wanted to do. And remember when RDJ came out on Sage, she said, new mask, same task. So maybe that's where they're going with it.
I don't know. That's the thing. There's so many unknowns still.
Yes. Oh, we have a correction here. Rob meant Paul Walter Hauser as Mole Man, not Tim Blake Nelson. So that is Stingray from the Cobra Kai series.
That's an interesting idea.
He would be a cool Mole Man. Yeah.
I feel like though he should be something else, almost like a tinkerer or something. I could see him being like, I don't know, like
in my head, he would make, if not that they're doing it, but if they were rebooting Daredevil, I think he'd make an awesome Foggy.
Oh yeah,
but they're bringing back the Foggy from the
from the show.
Yeah, they'll bring back all of those guys, which is good. I like that actor as well. Not as much as Stingray though.
Yeah, no, Paul Walter Hauser is a tremendous talent. So, and also a professional wrestler now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He does love the wrestling and has gotten in the ring.
Yes.
Is he as good as Stephen Amell though? Who might be?
I mean, probably not. But I think he's better than Jelly Roll was at SummerSlam. So.
Oh, that hurt.
So nice.
Oh.
Why is Jelly Roll choke slamming Austin Theory? Why? Anyway. Sorry, really don't. That's a tangent.
Love tangents. Paul, how do you think RDJ plays it? Matthew says he's on MLW. Yes, that's the one he's on.
Right. I think that if he's playing a Tony Stark variant, he will play it like he played Tony Stark. And if he is playing Victor Von Doom, the classic version of the character, then I agree with Ray that he will go in that sort of, haughty, arrogant, condescending, basically Kanye West kind of way about it, and speak about himself in the third person.
Yes,
and do all that stuff. And I think if they do that, he will be absolutely humorless. Like one of the defining characteristics of Robert Downey Jr. is he was constantly making these funny references and quips, and Dr. Doom is not funny.
Right.
He is humorless, and he will not make those kind of jokes. So I think, and he will have like a slight accent. So
yeah,
I mean, his character in that bomb movie last year, he was pretty humorless.
Yeah,
so he could play
there is something else that just sort of dawned on me. When they made the Doctor Strange movie and they cast Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, they got a little bit of grief because they were like, why is this white British woman not playing an Asian man character?
Right, but taking the role.
Why are you taking the role? And I remember Feige made a point of saying, we've kind of learned our lesson about that. So now you have Robert Downey Jr. playing a person who is in the comics is Romani. How did they square that away?
Right.
I mean, again, if he's a variant, it's not as big a deal.
Right. That's one argument for him not being the typical Doctor Doom. But again, they would kind of say like their argument against the criticism of Tilda Swinton was, well, she's not playing an Asian woman. It wasn't
right.
Right.
And for the record, I don't consider Tilda Swinton white. She is translucent.
Right.
Johan says that Deadpool's going to show up and kill RDJ's Doctor Doom. And then maybe RDJ, if we take Rob's idea, we could have Downey playing Christoph Waltz playing Doctor Doom. Carlos adds, I forgot where I read it, but RDJ will be playing a Victor Von Doom.
Well, they said that at Comic-Con. I mean, when Feige was talking about it on stage, he said he didn't not only say Doctor Doom, he said Victor Von Doom.
Right.
So,
I mean, there are ways to get around that and still have it related to Tony. I mean,
right. There's a lot
there are bad ways.
And that doesn't mean plans aren't going to change over the next 2 years either.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they've had a hell of a time adjusting plans already after the Jonathan Winters. I'm going to call him Jonathan Winters. It's just funnier to me.
But I was going to say that they're paying attention to how the people are reacting to this. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They want to see they pay attention to all this stuff. There's no reason they can't pivot if there's enough of a backlash, and that they won't pivot because there's so much on the line with this, especially after the Jonathan Majors disaster. Not Winters, Jonathan Majors.
It's Jonathan Winters.
No,
he's back from the dead and playing Kang.
Don't you dare do not take Jonathan Winters' name in vain. That is blasphemous.
Nanu.
So, Ray, you're supposed to say, keep Jonathan Winters' name out of your damn mouth. That's what everybody says now.
Right.
That's the cliche. Please follow the cliche. Do not alter from the cliche.
Rob adds, I just can't see RDJ as a god Emperor Doom and ripping Thanos' spine out. That's what I want. Yeah, I mean, well, Thanos is already dead, so that's not going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
But that is a...
Two Thanoses are dead. They killed 2 Thanos already.
I mean, Paul brought up some great points that I would love. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love Doom talking in the third person, saying "bah" every 3 minutes.
I mean, the convention, the thing in Hollywood is they feel like you have to show a person's face for an audience to connect to them,
right? And they've done that with Spider-Man and Iron Man.
Right. I mean, like you watch the Spider-Man movie, like Spider-Man in any of the Marvel movies, like every chance he gets, he's taking his mask off.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's also why like Halo in the Halo TV show, like they showed that guy's face. You know, there's always that like
Mandalorian. All of them. Eventually. Yeah.
You know, I mean, literally Darth Vader is one of the only characters I can think of in mainstream entertainment where you don't see his face all the time.
But even now,
it would be less intimidating if James Earl Jones is under the helmet, especially later in the series.
Well,
right, but they literally went like to the end of the third movie before you saw it.
But that was different. That was also 40 years ago, right? Like nowadays, now you bring back Vader, his mask gets cracked in everything that he's in, so that you can see Hayden Christensen under there.
That's very, very true.
Like it happens all the time now. And again, that's
although it never felt like, because I just
it
watched
made sense.
Obi-Wan. It never felt egregious the way it does with Spider-Man taking his.
Yes, exactly. And even with Mandalorian, it made sense the couple of times he takes his helmet off. But again, to your point, they will figure out a way. They will never go an entire series or an entire film or whatever without him showing his face at least briefly.
Yeah. That's still not what I want.
But,
I want
but
scenes
they
like...
show him like grotesquely, like, you know, messed up. Like, you know, when you saw Jason Voorhees with his mask off.
Yeah.
That's a lot different than like he takes the mask off and, oh, hey, it's Robert Downey Jr. and he's got the goatee and, you know, him and Doctor Strange are beard buddies.
I want scenes where Doom is like, bah, Doom does not require creamer, and you know, just dumb shit like that would entertain me to no end. So you brought up a point about Doom's face. In some portrayals in the comics, he is grotesquely scarred. In other portrayals, he has like a paper cut, but he's really self-conscious about it, so he makes this armor and mask. How messed up of a Doom do you think we'll see, Ray?
I don't think we're going to see a very messed up Doom at all. Because again, it's Hollywood. I think RDJ isn't going to want to have a bunch of makeup on. I think that I think that I don't know him or whatever, but it seems like with his ego too, like he's going to want to show his face.
You don't know him?
Yes.
So you guys are like besties hanging out every weekend.
Yeah, no, I go up to his house in the Hollywood Hills all the time. I cat sit for him. It's great. No, I just think that his ego won't allow that either. I think his ego, I think Hollywood's ego, I think that this is like there's gonna be no scarage. I think he's gonna be a pretty boy. I think he's gonna look basically like he looked at Comic-Con, right? He'll have his natural hair, it'll probably be a little bit graying or whatever, but like that's it.
Maybe just give him a little bit or something. Like
maybe
as an example, like Tyrion in Game of Thrones, in the books, is like half of his face is lopped off, whereas in the show he had, you know, like a little. He was scarred, but not disfigured or anything. So maybe they'll do something like that. Now, when I posted the news on Facebook, not that I just wanted to see what my friends' reactions was like. Some people were like, "Oh, this is desperation," and others are like, "Oh, Marvel is doing the same old with bringing back RDJ and the Russos." Ray, you mentioned you were happy to see the Russos returning, and that could
Yeah.
it could be like a course correction. Can you expand on why you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Russos have the track record. I think they have obviously a familiarity with the characters and a love and a passion that I think that we all want from the people in charge of this stuff. I think a lot of times when some of these projects don't do well, it's because that's not that a lot of the folks behind the scenes, whether writing it or directing or whatever, they're kind of like, hey, I got a Marvel movie, but they don't know who necessarily these characters are sometimes, right? Or have a passion for them, right? Like, I think that's happened a few times. And I think, so I think having somebody that we know has this proven track record is a great thing. I am thrilled that the Russos there. Again, my concerns really primarily lie with RDJ.
Gotcha.
I think that might be a reach. Right, that might be a bit of a desperate thing, and who knows? Maybe the Russos were like, "We're only going to come back if we can have RDJ somehow." Like, I don't know. Like, again, to Paul's point, there could be so many layers upon layers upon layers with how this deal got done. But I have faith in the Russos, and I have faith in RDJ too. I just hope that at the end of the day, they don't do anything to, in a way we mentioned earlier, tarnish their legacy, right? Not just the characters' legacies, but their legacies and what they've done with Marvel. Because if they fail with Doom, it will overshadow all their successes in my mind, personally.
And as when you mentioned comebacks, it made me think of us as pro wrestling fans, where we've seen one too many comebacks that tarnished what those guys did before. And
yeah.
I don't think that'll happen with RDJ, but you never know. Paul, do you have any concerns about the MCU being more of the same with the Russos and RDJ?
No. I mean, I do think probably that the financial aspects had something to do with it. You know, I mean, I certainly think if all of the movies post Endgame had done as well as the movies pre Endgame, they may not have said to Downey, like, hey, play Dr. Doom. Like, they may have just been like, you know what, we'll have you do the things in the amusement parks, but we're gonna get Christoph Waltz to be Dr. Doom, you know, or whoever.
Yeah.
You know,
I am probably the most concerned out of the three of us here. I totally get that there's a financial aspect to this. This is a business. It's a publicly traded company. Mm-hmm. But I go back to thinking of how I like to enjoy comics. Of course, in Marvel, I read the Avengers and X-Men and Spider-Man, all the big stuff. But, you know, I also love that we have smaller books. Like, you know, I love my Squirrel Girls. When Ms. Marvel started, that was one of my favorite books. I bought... it was some stupid character, Starbrand and Night Mask. I even brought that comic. I like having that variety. I like having people do different things in the comics and in the movies. You know, people bag on Eternals, but I love the way that movie was filmed. So many of these things are green screen monstrosities. I love that they had all these on location shots. You know, I think we're all fans of Ms. Marvel. The TV show and Kamala Khan as a character. I love that they told a different type of story that was smaller and not, you know, universe shattering. You know, I love having these different kinds of comics. Maybe it was a bad expectation to expect all of these things to be as big as the Iron Mans and Avengers that they did. Maybe they should have adjusted expectations and given smaller budgets to something like the Eternals. And just let the creator be more creative and not tie it to any, you know, set number. That would have been.
But don't forget when they were working on Eternals, they had just come off of the massive success of Endgame and all this other stuff,
right? And
COVID hit,
right?
You know, I mean, you know, that COVID hurt that movie terribly. I think, as it did for Black Widow and whatnot. So, and they're not dismissing, you know, even though they're not going to probably do another Eternals, like they're not dismissing it. I mean, the whole end scene of Eternals apparently plays into what's going on in Captain America. So,
right. But I just worry
I
that
think you're making a good point though about like, you know, you have to have these smaller characters. But I think that's what they're doing with Daredevil next.
Yeah, Born Again, yeah.
right.
Even Agatha.
But that was greenlit a while ago, though. So I think some of the plans there, I think Jonathan Winters, and I'm going to use that for this whole video. I think that gave them an excuse to reset a lot of things, not just that casting. One of the fallouts from that disappoints me was that apparently Shang-Chi was supposed to play a big role going up against Kang, but now that there's no Kang, he's kind of up in the air. Hopefully we get a Shang-Chi too.
The guy who plays him said that they're still making a second.
Right.
Movie.
He doesn't know when though. Simu Liu.
And that first movie did really, really well.
Yeah.
And apparently in some spots it's as big and as highly regarded as Black Panther.
Right. But my worry is that executives will be more conservative about what they release. We're seeing possibly some of that in the MCU. I think we're seeing that in the world of Star Wars as well. Earlier this week, The Acolyte was canceled. Ray, I know you hated the show, but I really enjoyed it.
I hated its execution. I thought I thought they had good ideas. I hated the execution. It was bloated. Right. It was gimmicky. It kind of talked down to the audience in some ways. And then they're like, oh, we're not going to reveal. Oh, here's Yoda at the end. It's like, come on, guys.
But I mean, I think you and I would agree though, that the core concept of The Acolyte was interesting. But
yes, the core concept was again, my problems were with the writing, with a lot of the acting, with the gimmicks that they used to try. Like, again, we didn't need a twin gimmick. We didn't need it's Star Wars Parent Trap. Like, come on. But
with the concept, you know, maybe they would have found their legs in a second season. And my worry is that the executives will be skittish about trying different things, giving things to oddball creators, and we'll get more of the same. So I do worry about that. I want my weird like Squirrel Girl equivalents and stuff like that.
Sure, but I mean that's the thing is that like execution matters.
It does, yeah.
You know, and nowadays especially with the industry struggling to come back after the strikes, and again, this is the reason why we talk about this all the time, especially when there was episodic television. Seinfeld took 3 seasons to get its legs going, right? That would never happen nowadays because unfortunately there's too much money on the line. And a lot of these studios are spread so thin because they don't know how to spend their money. And then you have somebody like Zaslav coming over at Warner Brothers. And it's like, tax cuts everywhere, tax cuts. I hate him.
That guy sucks.
Anyway, it's different. It's a different topic.
So let's get out of here on this question. Paul, was bringing back RDJ the best choice to make after the Jonathan Majors controversy? Jonathan Winters, sorry.
Well, I would argue that the best choice was getting rid of him because once he got convicted, there was, that would have tarnished any movie that they made, no matter what happened. I think if they had brought Chris Evans back as Dr. Doom, like, I don't think that's as good an idea. But it would have had kind of the same impact because he is as beloved as Captain America as RDJ is as Iron Man. I mean, I think we just have to wait and see what happens. It could end up being a terrible idea that, goes horribly awry. If he takes off his mask and he looks like Tony Stark and that moment falls flat with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right. How about you, Ray? Do you think this was the smartest move to make?
No, I really don't. Because again, now you've got all this talks about it being a gimmick, all right? Like again, this is the concern, right? And especially from Disney, I think in a lot of recent projects, is there's a lot of gimmicks. There's a lot of like almost like cheap tricks in the attempt to try to get, try to appeal to the lowest common denominator. And I think that I personally would have just cast somebody else. I would have just cast a different actor And I don't think you have like just somebody again. There's plenty of great actors in Hollywood with the gravitas to pull off Doom. And
Christoph Waltz.
Exactly, sure. But like, I would have not. Again, now you're talking about gimmicks. How is it going to be? Is it going to be an alternate? Again, I think. Can he pull it off?
Even that still, it's getting people not to talk about Jonathan Winters. People are so from that point, I think that it was a genius move to help sweep all that under the rug, because now you have 1,000 more questions that are more interesting to talk about than an accused. Was he convicted? I don't
He was convicted on 2 of the 4 counts.
Okay, so we have a convicted abuser. So
yeah,
getting people to forget about that, you have to do something big and bold and exciting, maybe controversial in a different way. So from that standpoint, I think job well done, because now no one cares about Jonathan Winters anymore.
Sure, but the thing is, I don't think they would have cared anyway once they announced Doom. I really don't. I think if they had gotten any A-list celebrity, I don't know, like Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know, like, I mean, probably not, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you get any A-list celebrity in that role and you reveal them like that at Comic-Con, I think people would have been buzzing. And I think people, because of what happened, because of all the cuts and everything we've heard, I think people had already been moving on from Jonathan Majors anyway. I think that like he was already kind of getting well under being swept under the carpet. Like, again, this was such a public firing basically because of what happened with the conviction, that like people had already been like, okay, yeah, that's it. He's done. What's happening next? Dr. Doom? Great. Let's go. Who's playing Doom?
Can you guys imagine the reaction if they announced that it was Hayden Christensen?
That would have been fantastic. But I have Ray's idea of DiCaprio as Doom now. Like, you're 22, next.
Doom does not date below 30.
Yes. So that is going to wrap it up for our discussion of RDJ as Doom. If you have thoughts on it, we would love to hear yours. Tom Cruise is a variant.
I actually really like that idea from Carlos. That's a great idea.
Well, there's been talk of him playing. There was talk of him playing Iron Man before RDJ. So
right.
Well, that's what he's saying, right? Like, could you imagine if he had been?
If he had been Dr. Doom? Wow.
Yeah. I think that would. I like that. I like that a lot. Carlos should be the casting director.
See, I'm not down with that, because then like you'd have like these scenes of like Dr. Doom jumping out of airplanes.
A lot of running scenes.
A lot of running scenes. And
no, see, because I think you got to remember, like, I think that he becomes the character. I think in a way, like an RDJ. Like, I think
I have no issues with Tom Cruise. I like stuff, you know.
I don't know. Even that weird cult he's in.
I mean, look, if he starts calling Castle Doom the Church of Scientology, then suddenly now we have a problem. But I don't think that would have happened.
Oh, Superior Iron Man. Actually, there was an infamous Iron Man storyline where Tony was in a coma after Civil War II, and Doom tried to become Iron Man to sometimes hilarious results, because nobody would believe he was trying to be a good guy genuinely. So that is always a funny angle. I do think Superior Spider-Man is funnier, though. It's a great comic book. If you want to read that. Yeah. Infamous Iron Man, I believe that was a Bendis book. He's also one of my favorite comics writers. So check that out. Please share your thoughts on RDJ as Doom in the comments section. And I hope you will join us next week, where our excellent friend Carlos will be joining me as we talk about Time Bandits on Apple TV Plus. I really enjoyed this show. Please give it a watch if you are an Apple TV Plus subscriber. And please give me a thumbs up, like, and all that good stuff. Check out Ray's socials. It's in the video description, and Paul's website, also in the video description. And I'll see you next week on RPadTV. Peace.